Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a great and amazing day today. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to my channel, School of Scarlet, where we talk about unconditional love. And if you're a new or returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning back in. I'm so happy to have you here today. So today we're going to be talking about comparisons and how comparisons keep us in this sense of separation and how they really keep us in a sense of lack. They keep us in a very limited state of being, and how they really can cause trouble for us throughout our life if we continue to compare ourselves to others or compare situations or compare really anything in life. When we're comparing things, we're basically pulling them apart and saying that they are separate and that one is either superior or inferior to the other. And neither of those are actually true. Everything that is appearing, everything in this life is actually neutral. And we can see it neutral. We drop judgment. And if we drop judgment, it allows us to drop the judgment within and without. So we're no longer judging ourselves and we're no longer judging the outside world. Everything becomes basically that neutral. It doesn't have a good or a bad reason to be here. It's not evil, it's not good. It just is. It's appearing because it's perfect and it wants to appear in this play of life for some reason. It's playing something out and everything is love, so there's nothing to fear. Whatever it's playing out is love. It may be a very diluted sense of love. It may be a very high level of love. It varies. There's everything on this earth. This is infinity. So you're going to see appearances that maybe you prefer more, or you don't prefer as much, or you just don't want it all. And so those are your preferences. And preferences are okay. Preferences are just kind of going towards what you want and going away from that which you don't want. So as you have preferences, it's not so much really about judging or comparing the two things. It's more about, this just isn't for me. It doesn't fit with who I am. It's not, doesn't feel right for me. But it's not because it's bad or it doesn't belong here or you're better than it or less than it. None of that. It just isn't what you want to go towards. It's simply just like these plants that go towards the sun. They prefer to go towards the sun because it's nourishing, it's warm, it's healthy for them, and it helps them grow. So they're going towards the sun. I mentioned that there's now studies where they do this with plants, where they play a high vibrational music that's more loving, and they also play this other frequency of music, which is a bit harsher and lower frequency, and the plant will actually gravitate and grow towards love, that frequency of love, the higher vibration, the higher frequency. And so that is what we are doing here as humans as well. We're just testing life. We're going throughout life and having different experiences that come up for us. And as we do so, we can kind of decide what we prefer. Do we prefer this way of being or that way of being? And life allows you to choose. So that is one area you have the choice. So a lot of things in life we don't have the choice. But in this area, we have the choice to go towards the things that are more nourishing, more loving towards us, or feel better for us. Maybe we aren't looking for all that love. There are people that maybe are looking for something different, and that's okay. It's just for you to choose. And without preference, with the preferences, we can kind of just drop comparisons because we can see how this is just a preference. It's not that we're saying that that shouldn't exist or that isn't good. It just is not our preference. So what begins to happen, that your whole framework around judging things kind of drops. There's no more judgment of anything. You see everything as valid and worthy of being here, just like you are. And so everything around you is then seen as really part of you. And if you see it as part of you, how can you judge it? How can you compare it? How can you want it to leave? The only reason it's showing up is to show you something. And if what it's showing you is that you feel inferior to whatever the appearance is, then that would be a sense of trying to figure out why you feel inferior. Because what you are is not. What you are is greatness. What you are is everything. And so you should not feel inferior. And if you're feeling that way, there is something else going on there. You're listening to the mind, you're listening to the brain, conditioning and things that have happened in the past that are pointing towards that you are this way, but that's not the truth. The truth of who you are is constant. It can't be changed. You can even just begin to adopt that thought now. I am worthy. No matter what I bring into a situation, no matter what happens, I am always worthy. And so, with having that paradigm, that baseline of who you are, every situation you enter is not about comparing it and seeing is it better or worse than anything. It's about seeing if that is your preference and trusting yourself, if it's not your preference, to go away from it and being okay with that. Whatever your preference is, whatever you go towards or you leave behind, is perfect. You can't make a wrong choice here. Every choice is perfect. So that's why when you have this realization, it's a big sense of relief because you realize you can't make the wrong choice. It's not possible. It may appear like you're making the wrong choice. You may feel suffering, but that's all happening within the mind, within the brain. What's actually happening here is actually fine if we really stop and look. There could be a million and one things happening in my life. But as I sit here now on this camera talking to you here, I am safe. I am okay. I am at peace. I'm able to talk. So everything is perfect. It doesn't matter what else is going on in the world, what's happening in world events, what's happening with my family, with my finances, with this issue or that issue or whatever. All of those issues are really just occurring in basically this illusion of this life to show you something. And it's nothing scary. It's nothing scary at all. It's something to be looked at. And when we look at that, we can kind of begin to see, oh, well, actually, I don't prefer that for myself. So then you go towards something else and your life begins to change. Your life begins to really align to who you are just by choosing your preferences. But where we get stuck and where the so called ego jumps in and really begins to kind of sabotage this whole thing is through comparisons, or you can see it as jealousy and that sort of thing. But I really just say comparisons. So when we're comparing ourselves to maybe another individual, that sort of thing, when you do that, that really keeps you very separate in this dualistic state of them and myself, or there's others and myself, and it keeps you very separate. And there's something wrong with them, and there's me, and or there's something wrong with me, and there's all of them. They're all great. So it keeps you in this level of separation that you can never really feel the oneness happening. So, to feel the oneness, we have to drop comparisons. Even if someone is appearing to us as if maybe they have something that we don't have, that's just an appearance for you to see that you are feeling a sense of lack. And if you're feeling a sense of lack because you see something that someone else has and you desire that, that's only a signal to you that your heart is desiring something more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we don't have any desires at all, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people have desires, and desires is what creates creation and movement in life and this play of life to be really interesting. And so we're really only here to play. So, what kind of play do you want to play? That's the question. And so sometimes we judge ourselves by our appearance. We think, oh, there is something wrong with the way that we look. There is something wrong with our weight. There is something wrong with our hair, our nose, our whatever. Maybe we have a birthmark we don't like. Maybe we have something about ourselves that we just don't accept. And a lot of times, if we really examine it, it has really come from others. We've been judged. Maybe we had a parent growing up that shamed us over our appearance. Maybe said mean things about our nose or our weight, or maybe they were always very judgmental, or maybe they themselves were the type of people that compared a lot. Maybe you were compared to your sibling or to someone else in the family or to a friend. And so these patterns get adopted and they're now running through you. And as they run through you, that becomes your mode of being and how you react to situations. So Most likely, if you grew up that way, when you meet someone and you somehow feel inferior because maybe you were always judged on your weight growing up, and this person is showing up and they're very healthy, maybe they're muscular, they've been working out, and maybe you don't feel that way, and that judgment comes up. Everything comes up. That programming of childhood will start running. Now, this is a time to really stand in who you are. Remember that you are worthy no matter what. What you're doing here is expressing the expression of who you are right now. So the human vessel that you're in right now, that you're in, this body, this appearance, is what you're expressing. And it's completely perfect and it's completely wanted. It's loved. It's wanted to be here. If it wasn't here, it wouldn't exist. It would not exist. God, source, creation, whatever, would not have this as an expression. But it is here because it is completely loved, and we know that all is love. So you are love. What you are expressing is love. However, it is being expressed through you, whether that is in being a larger person, whether that is in having some deformity or some different, unique thing about you. All of that is perfect and completely wanted to be here. So embrace it, love it, begin to have a connection with yourself, because we have this programming running of shame, of that there is something wrong, and that life has shown us that others judge us on our appearance, others judge us on the way that we show up. And that's something that we've learned throughout life, but it's not truth. The people even that judged us were also running these same programs of distortion. So we have to kind of break free from that and really stand in who we truly are, as being worthy, as being complete, as being whole and perfect in this moment. There is nothing wrong about you in this moment. There is nothing wrong. So embrace that. And in doing so, we can begin to love others as well and feel that connection of oneness. A lot of the times, the separation really is coming from you. And it's not even a lot of the times, it's all of the time. It's coming from an internal feeling that I'm not saying that you picked this up yourself or did this to yourself. As the individual self, a lot of things happen that are just adopted and are running and are completely unconscious to the person until they become conscious. So this is just happening. There's nothing wrong or right about it. But when you're waking up to this, for example, watching these videos, being aware of that you really are not your body, you can begin to drop that. You can begin to drop those false programs. Even just conceptually and intellectually, you can begin to drop that. And stop comparing yourself to anyone or anything else. Find the beauty in that. Or if you find that you feel lack, that you feel that you would like to be like that other person and that's causing you some sort of trigger to happen, just see it as an example of something that you can be. If that person has this, that, and the other, and that's what you desire, there is absolutely no reason that you cannot have that as well. Everything that is appearing is just an appearance of something that can happen. And it can all happen for you as well. Anything and everything is possible. Now, we also have the problem of comparing other things, items, ways of being. We compare, oh, this person is following this religion and they're wrong and this one's correct. That is a comparison, and that is a comparison that keeps you in this separation and can even lead to things that can be even deeper and more damaging to the person in terms of suffering. That's really only self-inflicted, really, because no one is asking you to compare these. So you're self-inflicting suffering when you're comparing these two modes of being. Both are equal and valid here. There absolutely no reason they both can't exist. Everything, every train of thought can exist. Every way of being is allowed to exist. It is completely beautiful and perfect. And even if it's expressing a belief that you've seen now is false, it has a purpose here. It had a purpose for you. It had a purpose for me at one point, and now it has no purpose because you eventually grow out of that. But there is no problem with it existing. It certainly has to exist. So even if one person is expressing differently than the other, what I would encourage you to do is imagine yourself carrying a knapsack, a backpack. And as you go around life and maybe you learn things from others, or other people teach you things, or you get involved in different organizations and things, you may not agree with everything that they're saying. You may not even resonate with it. So, those things that you do not resonate with, you just leave out of your knapsack. You don't take that with you, nor do you need to judge it, nor do you need to compare it, nor do you need to say anything to the person about it. It is simply an appearance and it's not serving you, so you're not sticking it in your knapsack. You just leave it. You only take what resonates for you. And that would be the same for when you're watching these videos, when you're involved in any kind of learning environment. Just take what you need, and that which you don't need, leave. Because this is a trusting process of trusting your own true inner self, the true will, which is the true infinite will that is happening, trusting its decisions as it's working through you. It is you. But you're going to hear it as an inner voice. You're going to hear or feel it as an inner knowing when you're comparing things. Oh, okay, really, I don't believe that, whatever they're saying, or that doesn't seem like it would work for me. And then you just simply leave it. You go away from it, like we talked about with people. You move towards those things that feel right, and you move away from those things that do not feel right. It's simply that. But we do not have to judge it. We do not have to compare it. We can say, oh, that's beautiful, that's perfect, that it works for some, or that they resonate with that, but it doesn't resonate with me, so I'm going to go this way. And it's as simple as that, because as soon as we become into this game of comparisons, of judging, of seeing things as inferior or right or wrong or correct or factual or not, or all of this, then we begin to have a struggle within as well. If you can see, generally when we don't agree with something and really compare it, and then we go to as far as to say, oh, it's wrong, and we need to do something about it, then all of a sudden we have this inner feeling of basically like anxiety coming up. Why is that there? It's a warning that you're judging again. You're judging situations and experiences and ways of being and people or whatever it happens to be. And it's not necessary, because everything is perfect and in control here. Nothing is wrong. Even if you see it as wrong, it's really not wrong. It's just an appearance. It's something that's happening, a play of life. Now, if you like to engage in the drama, if you like that sort of thing, if you really are, if that's your preference, maybe you've had this awakening, but you really love politics and you're very passionate about it and you really are more one sided than the other. I've seen this. It completely continues to play out. Of course, yes, it causes some anxiety, some anger, some different emotions to arise. Nothing wrong about that. So if it is your desire to play into these things, then do it. But if you're really wanting to feel oneness, if you're really wanting to feel connection with everything and not really feel that separate from anything, you're going to want to just see everything as neutral, as just being here and having a purpose for being here, being completely validated to be here just like you are. Or you can see it as part of you and love it and find a way to love it because it is a part of you. But you got to start first with yourself. So let's start there. Look at yourself, examine all of yourself. Can you really see yourself as you are without comparing yourself to another time when maybe you look different? Because we're all aging, we're all changing. This is something that's always changing. Life is never still. Like it's still in who you truly are and what you are, constant, but the appearance is always changing. It's always changing. Every day it's changing. It's never the same. Every moment is very changing. That's why every moment is born new. So because of that, we're never going to be how we were. And some of us are comparing how we used to look or what we want to look like or this or that. We need to stop and just be in this moment as you are now, how you appear today. Can you accept that? Most of us can't even look in the mirror without our clothes on, without accepting that, without having problems doing that. Why is that? You are perfect. There is not a place on your body or anything that is not supposed to be here. It is certainly wanted. It is certainly wanting to be here. It's wanting to be expressed in the exact way that it is. Can you embrace that as the creation of source that is beautiful? So look at that. Look at your body. Look at every part of you and love it. Love it for being here, for wanting to be expressed. You're not always going to be expressing in the same vessel. There are many other ways of being here. There are many other humans. There are many other animals. And the deep truth of it would be pretty shocking. But you will be experiencing everything. You are everything. So, right now, it's time to experience this vessel and to love it and to really express it as true love. Get to that space of relaxation where you can drop your judgments of it, where you can just embrace it as, yes, this is my human costume. It is not who I truly am, but this is the human costume that I have been born into here. And this human costume is serving me well. This human costume, it takes me places. My legs, my arms work. I am strong. I am healthy. Say all of those things that are truth right now about your human costume. My skin is okay. I am able to speak. Anything that you can say about yourself, about this human costume, you want to love it. You want to speak words of love for it and to it. And so, in that, you will completely drop that judgment because you will just see it as love. And so that is all it is. You are not really this costume, and that's why it feels uncomfortable because what you are isn't limited to this body. And somehow internally you know that. And that's why it's uncomfortable to be in this body when the body starts to carry on more weight or starts to have pain or starts to age and things like that. We resist it. Why? Because it doesn't feel very natural. Because what we truly are is not this body. What we truly are is very expansive, very free, very light. It's not dense and hard and the way the body is here in this appearance. It's not like that. So it can be a bit uncomfortable when we don't feel right, when we feel like our body is holding us back in some way. But that is also love. It's teaching us to really love even when the body is not working at its optimal condition or whatever is happening. It's teaching us love and it's teaching us to open ourselves, to open our minds and our eyes into different perspectives and different ways of being. We're not always going to be very energetic or full of life or strong. One day we're going to be weak, we're going to be feeble, we're going to be old and it's going to be a different way of being. Can we accept that? Can we slow down? Can we shift the way that we are? Consciousness is wanting to express itself in so many infinite ways, and it loves seasons, cycles. Everything's in a cycle. And so the cycle of life is something you can't prevent. You see it happening everywhere. It's a recurring theme in everything. So everything has a cycle. But if you're going against it, if you're resisting it, what's going to happen then? What's going to happen then? What ends up happening is a sort of self hatred. And that self hatred really can break the person down in a lot of different ways. And in that, it really creates a level of separation that's really hard to come back from. Because what we have is truly just unity. Everything is one at all times. And separation is really within the mind. And if we get so ingrained in that we shouldn't be this way, or there's something wrong with us, or we shouldn't have this on us, or, there is something holding us back, then it will hold us back. Whatever thoughts you have are the truth. So as soon as you believe that you are inferior, as soon as you believe that someone has something that you don't or you can't have, then that becomes your reality. So let's go back inwards and reclaim our birthright, our worthiness. We have this birthright. There is no reason that we should go around life feeling inferior, having to compare, even if we're an ego where we think that we are above people or that there's something better about us. Even that is not what we want to do. We want to see everything neutrally, okay? And entering the situation as I'm worthy and so are they. You also want to see the other side of it because that other side, the appearances are you as well. You're all equally worthy. Everyone has something, a gift, something within them that is very valuable, and they're expressing it very differently. And we don't always understand one way of being to the other. I worked with a lot of homeless people, and I really got to know them. They were had mental illness, but I came to find out a lot of them were not even suffering. They were not suffering how we think they're suffering. And when yes, they had mental illness, and that was something that they had, but the suffering that they felt was more physical. I would ask them about it, and almost all of them would share the same stories. It was really funny. The main suffering that they would share was that their feet hurt from walking all the time, or they were hot, or they couldn't find something to eat. That was the main thing that they talked about. And their rates of hurting and harming themselves and leaving this world were very, very low, compared to the other clients that we had that weren't homeless, that had good living situations and stuff like that. Um, the homeless population did not really hurt themselves. They just continued to go about life, and they had a sense of small community with the other homeless people. And it really isn't what you think. It's a different way of being. It's a different consciousness. They are learning and expressing and doing different things. So we don't really have to judge it or even feel bad about it. We don't even have to feel like we're better than that, or that, oh, poor them. No, no one's actually suffering here. No one's actually poor me, poor this. Everything that happens, we're actually allowing it. And I know that can be a trigger for a lot of people, but we are actually allowing these things to happen because a lot of it's happening in our own minds. It's actually not even reality. It's actually not physical reality. The thoughts that we have that someone doesn't like us, that someone's talking about us, that this person doesn't want us to do this, or they don't want to see us, or they don't want to invite us, or this or that, is actually all occurring within our own mind. When we actually look at things, it hasn't ever happened that way. It's a feeling we were picking up on, it's a feeling that we think is happening. But if we drop that feeling and we tap back into our worthiness and we go straight ahead, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks of you. It doesn't really matter the opinions of anyone else. It only matters that what you want to do and that you're doing it. So you just go ahead and do it. It's like the world disappears for you and you're just on your path, and nothing can get in the way of that path. You're just on your path. You got the blinders, and nothing is going to deter you, basically. And it's a way of being completely sovereign. For example, um, there was even situations where we can see among leaders and people that have really helped people, have really healed people, have really done miracles. We can think about like Jesus and Mother Teresa and all these people that are very humanitarian, were helping the sick, the lonely. I mean, people that had diseases and things that you wouldn't even want to touch or be near for the fear that it might come onto you. But why were these people able to just simply just go out there and be with the sickest of the sick and not really get sick? How were they able to do all of this without it affecting them? Why? Because they're able to enter that situation completely in love, in unconditional love. So all they're doing is projecting love. They're not allowing the situation outside of themselves to alter or change or diminish or degrade their level of love. They're coming in with full love. Why? Because they're coming in to heal. And you cannot heal when you see someone and then you have pity for them or you think that they're sick. You have to see them as worthy. You have to see them as whole and complete. And as you see them as whole and complete, they begin to heal. So we want to go into every situation as everything is fine here. It's just a distortion of the mind. And we can get through this as soon as we project that there is nothing wrong here. And when other people can see that you're not threatened or you're not scared of their situation, they relax and they realize, whoa, there's nothing to be scared of. If they're not scared of catching leprosy, of catching this or that, then there is something here. There is a power here that I want to know about. And that's where the healing comes, because the opening happens on the other end and they're receiving the love now because they say, whoa, this person's got something. And all of a sudden they receive it and they realize, oh, I have that. And it just awakens within them and they heal. Self realization is the ultimate healing. that is the ultimate healing, and it will continue to heal you. It just does. So as soon as you realize that, everything changes. So this video is really to be just aware of comparisons and how they're showing up in our lives and how often we're doing it. And are we just comparing things because that's been our programming? We can kind of examine that. Are we comparing things because we feel inferior? Are we comparing things because we feel superior? Or are we comparing things because literally we just feel very separate from everything? We want to examine that. So if you do journal, this would be a good thing to journal on. Why do I compare? And just kind of list and talk about or write about the things that come up, the times you've compared things, maybe that day, that week, maybe things of the past, and see what comes up there. Why are you comparing? Is there something that you find that you're lacking? Or is there something that you find that you're angry about because other people aren't doing? You feel maybe superior in some way. And how can we neutralize that and see that as neutral, as really respecting everyone for whatever situation and experience they're projecting right now, and just accepting that and going away from it if it's not what we desire, and going towards it if we do. That's simply all we have to do. We don't have to judge it. We don't have to fight with it. We don't have to say you're wrong, or I don't believe this, or this or that, or that's going to harm you, or this. Life takes care of life. So as you begin to follow your own heart, that's all you have to do. You actually don't have to worry about much else. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to take the next step that the heart brings up for you. And in that, you're safe, you're fine, and you always have been. But this is all happening within the mind. The comparisons is something that's happening within the mind. No one can even see it happening. Sometimes, yes, there's verbal things and we can hear that, but there's a lot of comparisons happening solely in the mind. It doesn't have to happen. You can be free of that now. So drop it. Drop it now and begin to see everything as neutral. Begin to see everything as perfectly how it's happening. It's not out of place. It's not wrong. You don't have to change it. You don't have to convert it. You don't have to persuade it. Nothing. You just have to accept it. And as you do so, love transmutes it. And all of a sudden, everything is back to peace. And you can just focus on your own path. Back when I was a teacher, I remember one of the main things that I was kind of taught by some senior teachers, that no matter what's happening in life, in your own personal life, it doesn't matter how horrible, what's happening, who you're fighting with, what happened at home. When you get to the classroom and you walk through that door and the first child goes through that door, all of those problems disappear. And you are in teacher mode and you put that smile on and you get to work. And I learned that early on when I started doing that it really is very easy to just drop everything. It's maybe not easy the first couple times, but as that begins to be your pattern, that just becomes life. You just live life and you don't listen to the mind anymore. You just leave it. And what you find is you can do your job just fine. And teaching, it requires so much. It requires you to be animated, basically be like an actor, an entertainer, be very engaging. You have to also know whatever it is you're teaching, the material. You need to know how to connect with the students. You need to know how to give them positive and conscious discipline to, manage your classroom. So there are so many components to this. And so the only way you can do this as a teacher on a daily basis is to drop it. Drop anything that you have going on from home, any issues, because everybody has something going on. And the only way you can do this kind of thing is to drop it. And so I learned that early on, that you can do that. And you really start to realize when you start dropping it and just getting to work, that all those things you dropped were completely illusory. Like they were just like anxiety, projecting too much into the future, thinking too many things that could and would happen. But when you get to work and you just teach, and at the end of the day you go home, problems are gone. There is no more problem. So I just wanted to share that with y'all today about comparisons and how comparisons kind of keep us very separate. And so because of that, I wanted to just bring that to y'all's attention, and you can kind of begin to see that and notice that in your life if you are comparing, and why. Go into that a little further. Why? And if we find the root of that is lack, we're going to want to really confirm and reaffirm to ourselves that we are not in lack. We are not in lack at all. We have love, we have endless amounts of love, and everything is right here within us. And if you do feel very separate, if you do feel like this is something that you're not connecting with, you're not sure of, but it does resonate with you and you'd like to know more or you'd like some help along that path, I do offer a course, the unconditional course. If you are interested in that, we are enrolling for our class starting October 10th, and I offer one-on-one sessions. So I'll put all of that information in the description and in the comments for you if you are interested in that. But I love you infinitely, and I think that you are wonderful. You are beautiful. You are worthy, and you have no reason to compare yourself to anything else because you are everything, and everything is showing you that. So drop the mental chatter that comes through that's wanting you to compare and separate. Drop that now and see the beauty and the beauty on earth as it is now. Thank you so much for watching.